Hey y'all, Mr. Harbinger here. Today we're going to be talking about some string things and some output things. Should be really kind of a brief lesson to deal with, and thanks for those of you watching this at home. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, wink. You don't have to. Leave me a good comment though, good stuff. Anyway, we're going to talk about a couple output things before we do anything else. So some of you noticed before that we've been doing system.out.println, and you could say something nice like programming is awesome. And you could do it again, and you could say system.out.println I love it. And you know, and I know, that the output says programming is awesome, I love it, and they're separate lines. But what if, you said something like CNS, and I know some of you are thinking, hey wait, he just did print, and above he did println. Print works. The difference is, prints whatever you tell it to, and then it stays on that same line. It doesn't drop down to the next line. So if I were to say something like system.out.println north stars, it literally says CNS north stars, and that's all on one line, and then because of the println with the north stars, it drops down to the line after that and it's ready to go. So please understand that print outputs whatever you tell it to, and it stays on that same line, so you can consistently do system.out.print, 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 and it's going to be on the same line over and over and over. It's the println, that ln, that drops it down to the next line when you're ready for the next thing. Just be careful of that, please, because that's a potential tricky thing. Let's do a phrase, and let's make it something like, I don't know, Java is more than just coffee. I don't need that parenthesis. Alright, so sometimes I could SOP phrase. That's a thing. But what if I wanted to cut it up into different lines? I could do something like /n. And it's not Java is more than just coffee. This /n is called an escape sequence, and that really means, hey compiler, when you're running this code, make a new line please. So this /n is related to the println that's up here. That /n would be drop down a line. It's like hitting the enter key on the keyboard. So if you're looking at the output, it's Java is more than just coffee. So that n drops it down, and sometimes it helps you format the output. Now there's two more escape sequences you have to know. Because what if, oh my gosh, you had a string, and let's call it like phrase 2. Java is an island, Indonesia. And what if I wanted slashes to show up in the output? Right, you can't just do a regular slash, because that one slash that goes, it's like telling the compiler, hey, something weird's about to happen here. And so you can't just say something like, it's an island with slashes in it or something like that. What if you actually wanted that slash as part of the output? Well, you could double it up, and that first one tells the compiler, hey, the next thing that's coming, it's a little bit weird, so just be ready for it, and be ready to treat it weirdly. And that's exactly what it does. It's like, oh, the next thing is weird. Hey, that thing is a slash. I'm going to put that slash as part of the output. So it's Java is an island. I don't know why you'd want to write it like that, but I'm sure there's an output at some point that you would want to say like that. Other thing, how do you put a quote in the output? Right, like quotes tell the compiler, hey, begin a string or end a string, but what if sometimes you actually want to put a quote in text in an output? So string JS equals like, I'm buying it. Right? So what if I wanted to quote that from a friend of mine? What if I wanted to say like, as a friend said, I'm buying it. And it's string, so I got to put the entire string in quotes. Well, that's not going to work, because right now if I try to output it, it's going to say string.js is as a friend said, and then the compiler doesn't know what's going on here, because then it's got an I, and it's like, wait, the string just ended. So what you can do is you can put a slash and then another one before the other one. So now what's on the screen when it outputs, it's going to say, as a friend said, and it's going to have the colon, and it's going to have the space, and then it gets to the slash, and it's like, oh, the next thing is weird, I got to be really careful here. And so it says, hey, this quote, it's going to be treated weirdly. I'm going to put it actually on the screen. It doesn't end the string. So as a friend said, I'm buying it. And then it gets here, and it's like, oh, it's got a slash and a quote. Okay, well, that quote's going to be treated weirdly. I should put that on the screen too. So please understand that print doesn't drop the cursor down to the next line. Println does. There's 3 escape sequences you have to know for the AP exam, and that would be /n, which is the new line character, // which is, hey, make sure when you output the string that there's a slash involved, and /quote outputs quotes. So while we're on the topic of strings, we're going to do some string library stuff really quickly. So before we had like int num equals 7, and we had w equals, 3.65 or something like that. I don't know. But we talked before that there were string variables, and I'm going to call it WD for word because I'm lazy. And we're going to talk really fast about some of the string functions there are. So I'm going to give it a value, and I'm going to give it a value like fire is not an adjective. Yo, my code's so fire. I have no idea what that means. My code is on fire is almost true. My computer's on fire is definitely a source of caution. Anyway, what if I want to know something like how many letters there are in the string? Right? Like, I want to know because I might have to deal with that somehow. So I could say something like, I'm going to count them up, and I'm going to ask the string for how many letters it has. So if you do this in Eclipse, if you type in the name of the string and a dot, you're going to see this pop-up box, and it's got all this functionality. It's like, hey, what do you want me to go do? And you're like, oh, hey, string, I want to know the length of the string. Now, length is kind of cool. It works exactly like you think it does. It just counts the letters. So 1 for the F, 2 for the I, 3, 4. The space count, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for the space, 13, 14, 15 for the space, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There's 24. Length is the one that people get right until they get down to a different function, and that's kind of funny. So what other things can we do? So fire's not an adjective is my string, WD. I also want to know sometimes where something happens. So I'm going to call my variable where, and I might ask it where the first instance of the letter I is. So I'm going to say, hey WD, it's called index of, and it helps you go find something. And where's the letter I? And it's going to go find it in the string, and it's going to store that value in where, and it's the very first time it happens. Now, the funny thing is that people really don't like is, with the exception of length, we're always going to count starting at 0, right? So the F is in position 0 because we are 0 characters away from the beginning. So that's 0, and I is in position 1. So where is 1? Literally, you could SOP where, and the output's 1. Now that's not bad, but what if instead I wanted to overwrite where? What if I wanted to say like, where is WD.index of, and could I do a bigger, like maybe not? Whoops. Fire is an adjective, please. Hey, go look in the string, and you tell me where the word not first shows up. So it's like, oh, f is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the space, 5 for the I, 6 for the S, 7 for the space. Oh, this is in position 8. I'm going to keep looking. I've got an O, I've got a T. So the very first spot I happened was position 8. It remembers the very first location. So where equals 8? So that's not horrible. And if I said something like where equals wd.index of f, it would say 0 because that f is in the very first spot. That's not that bad. So how can I make it worse? Where equals wd.index of, what if I pick something not there? So what if I pick like, I don't know, like x or something like that? It's like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it counts all the way up. And oh my gosh, it's not there. But where has to have a value? And it can't be 0, because that means it happens in the very beginning. It can be a positive integer within the length of the string, because that's like saying I found it. So that leaves us with two choices, and one of them is a number that's bigger than the length of the string, but that doesn't make any sense, because I could just mess with the original string, and then seriously, code is easier if I had something a little bit more concise. So it equals -1. -1 tells the compiler, hey, I didn't find it. I looked for the letter x, it's not there, so it's got to be -1. So if I ever have a value of -1, it means that string wasn't in the original string. So just be careful, please, that index of something that's not found is definitely -1. So there's a couple more things we have to talk about, and it'll go pretty quickly, I think. Let's see, charat is a lot like that, so I'm going to use that one. We've got a char variable, and we don't really use char variables a heck of a lot yet, and I need to give it a name, so I'm going to call it like mander or something like that. So we've got this char mander, ready for the joke, but I'll let that one go. And I want to know a certain character in a certain spot. So wd dot, right, I'm going to keep picking on fire is not an adjective. What if I want the letter in position 3 or something like that? So it says, oh, 0 is the F, 1 is the I, 2 is the R, 3 is E. So it would be mander equals 3. Sorry, no, mander equals E. So index of goes and finds you where a certain string is and gives you back a number. Charat, you put in a number and it gives you back the character that's there. So it might be a space, it might be a letter, it might be a number, whatever it is, it's a character. That's all you care about. And if you try giving it something like char, I don't know, million, if I wish I could spell, equals wd dot char at 100, it doesn't have 100 letters. So it doesn't know what to do. It's an error. It's called an index out of bounds exception, which means, hey, I got all the way to the end of the string, and you wanted me to keep going, and I don't know what to look at. So index out of bounds exception. I've had maybe 1,000 of these, and you're probably going to have 1,000 too by the time we're done, and that's okay. You just looked too far, and whatever. It's a good learning experience. So we've got a couple more string functions. We're going to keep going. What if string, I'm going to reset my word because fire is not an adjective. It's going to like scroll off the top in a second. So something like advice. Homework is a good idea. Some of you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. But what if I wanted like a little part of that? What if I don't want the entire thing, right? What if I just want some part of it? So I'm going to make a string, and I'm going to use a function called substring. So I'm going to name my variable something like partial, and advice dot substring. And I'm going to give it two numbers, and that's like a starting point, and that's an ending point. So I'm going to tell it to start at position, I don't know, like 2, and I'm going to give it a number, and I'm just arbitrarily picking something here, 2, comma, like 8. And I don't know the value of partial, but I'm going to count it off, and here's what people don't like. This is inclusive, this is exclusive. So that first number says, hey, start here, include this thing, include the character at that position, and get all the way to this number, but don't make it part of the string. So the value of partial is, let's find out. 0 is the H, 1 is the O, so I'm going to start with the 2, the M. That's included. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. K is part of it. I get to position A, and that's the space. So that says, hey, stop right before this. So it's literally me work with no space after it. Right? If this was a 9 instead of an 8, it'd be me work with a space. So just be really, really careful. The first, it's called an argument, which is like an input, is included. Second is excluded. So if it helps you think about it, as long as we said something like partial, and I'll write this as a comment because it's not like real code, but partial equals advice dot substring, we're really talking about, in terms of math notation, like that, right? The square bracket and the curve bracket, which means, hey, include this thing and go up to almost this thing, but don't include it. So just please understand that we're including that very first character in that position, and we're stopping just before the second argument. And then I'm going to do another one, because substrings are really useful. You know how to handle it with 2 arguments, and now I'm going to handle it with just 1 argument. So other part, I guess, and I'm going to make that one advice.substring also. And I just have to give it 1 number, and I'm going to show you what happens when you do. So something like 13. Java knows what to do. You're like, hey, substring with 2 inputs, and it knows to have a starting point and a stopping point. And you do substring with 1 input, and it says, okay, I'm going to start there and go all the way to the end. So 0 is the H, 1 is the O, 2 is the M, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is the space, 12 is the A, 13 is the space before good. So I'm going to say other part is I've got a space and then good idea. That's it. So substring with a single argument starts at that spot and goes all the way to the end of the original string. The 2 argument thing's a little bit weirder. The 1 argument thing works really, really well, and it's the kind of thing people are good at in the string lab, and they never remember it again after that. You guys will probably be good at this, just be really careful. It's easy to ask multiple choice questions, you know, where people mess up on this. You know, where I include 2 and 8 as a fake answer. You know, I exclude 2 and 8 as a fake answer. So be super careful, please. This comes with practice. 2 more things. Boolean are they equal? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out if 2 strings are the same, right? So I'm going to have something like string, and I'll call it like word1, and I don't know, like CNS, because I'm not very imaginative, and string, and I'll call it word2, because you know I'm super crazy imaginative, and one of those. And I want to know if word1 equals word2. So I'm going to say something like equals word2, and it stores the Boolean value. Right? I could literally system.out.println, are they equal? And it's going to say true, because every letter matches with every other letter perfectly. Every single character matches. Hey, this C, same as this C. This N, same as this N. This S, same as this S. Awesome, that's true. I mean, if I changed that, it would be false. If the second there's any kind of, you know, disagreement, it's immediately false. The only way our equals returns true is if they match exactly. There's one more function you have to know for the AP test. And I'm going to be a jerk enough to not cover it explicitly. I'm just going to tell you what it is so you can explore it and use it when the time comes. I've got a string, and I'm going to say something like word3, and you know, North Stars or something like that. And I want to have an integer, and comp, and I should probably have another string because I'm going to need it. we can compare golden eagles to the North Stars, which, W4 dot compare to W3, and comp stores an integer. And you could output it, and it's going to give you a number, and at first the number's kind of confusing and weird, but you can change the values. You could change North Stars to gold. You could change North Stars to capital N North Stars. You could change North Stars to, 2018 North Stars. You could change golden eagles. You could change a whole bunch of stuff. And on the lab, I actually ask you to change both strings over and over and over and over and over and output the result and then get a sense for what compare to does. You actually have to know compare to. It's really important, and we're going to use it all during the year, but I'm asking you to kind of explore it and figure it out. So be ready for that one. So you have to know length, you have to know index of, both substrings, compare to and equals, char at, you don't have to know, it's just crazy useful, and I use it all the time. We talked about the escape sequences, we talked about print versus println. Harbinger out!